but you probably won't, what the 3 stages are and what their titles are. So hopefully you remember that rule number 5 is reverse pyramid and you understand what that means. But beyond that, it'd be nice if you picked up the rest. And so I try and follow that when I can. And we use this through technology to keep the audience's attention. Okay? Your audience can tune out at any time. Using the reverse pyramid with technology, technology can be your alarm clock. I have been in court. I clerked for a judge who routinely fell asleep on the bench. I've seen jurors fall asleep. You probably have too. Okay? Talking isn't getting it done these days. These jurors are sitting there and they are slaves to TV. They are consumers of popular media. They are used to 5 seconds, every 5 seconds a new image. That's what you're competing with. Plus, they probably don't want to be there either because they can't work or they have something better to do. So you've got to get their attention. And it's far harder to do it today than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago because of how many other options there are in modern society. Television, movies, music, on demand, the internet. You've got a lot of competition out there for dwindling attention spans, okay? So in order to keep up, you got to take some of this technology, I believe, and incorporate it into your practice in order to be effective. Certainly with respect to those external audiences like jurors in particular. Rule number 6, movement. Movement. I do it with my hands all the time, same concept, okay? This is an example, it's a timeline. Now, I was involved in a case a couple of years ago where we had just finished with our morning session. We were on a break for lunch. The partner came to me, and all I had was my iPad. And he said, we need to put together a timeline of these 8 or so basic facts. We need to have it ready to go in an hour. Can you do it? I said, sure, boss, no problem. Okay? Now, what you're going to see is if you have time, you can do it in a lot better way. But this is what we could get done on the fly with an iPad. Okay? Now, what you're looking at is no great shakes, but there's movement to it. Okay? I could have just put it up on the board, and then it's bang. There it is. It's all done. But look at it again. Okay? I'm going to stop it there. I've got attention, and this is the very, very basic level, but if somebody's just dozing off and they look up on a screen and something's flying in like that, well, hey, maybe I've got their attention a little bit. Maybe they will pay attention to what I say a little bit more. Okay? This is, at its very basic, the use of movement through technology to help get your point across and reach the audience. You can do it that way. An even better way, when you have some time, is through evidence. Okay? Anybody know who this guy is? Elmo. Hopefully somebody said it out loud out there in internet land. Okay? The Elmo projector. It is the bane of my existence. I don't know when it was created. I hate the person that created it. No offense if you're watching. It's the same thing as those old, slide projector things. I don't know. I was around the beginning of them, but not so much after. No one should be using these anymore. It bothers me, for lack of a better expression, why anyone is using these, because it's not the easiest way to get it done. It's the way that people know how to get it done, but it's not the easiest way. The easiest way is what I'm doing now. I don't have to create stuff on the fly. I don't have to hope my piece of paper doesn't rip. These are antiquated technologies. They can be replaced very easily by Acrobat Pro, like I just told you, and Keynote and/or PowerPoint. Okay? Now, we're talking about movement here. How are we using technology to create movement to engage our audience? Okay? When we're talking about evidence, we can have evidence. This is scanned to a PDF. We're going to crop it in our PowerPoint or Keynote presentation, and we're just going to drop it. Okay? It's got some jagged edges. It's engaging. It's fun. We can have portions pop out to illustrate that they're important. And then we can have the real important stuff pop out from the other important stuff. Now, again, the key concept here is this should tell a story, but it shouldn't be an obvious one to somebody who's seeing it for the first time. These are basic concepts. Now, just by looking at this, for someone who has not ever seen the case that this involved before, you can see that there's something about 4% that is important. But for the presenter, the idea is that even, this is 2003, so even close to a decade later, you can come back and you can take one look and say, I know what that case is about. That case was about a company in one state who was licensed to transact a certain type of immigration bond business, who was going into another state and allegedly soliciting unlicensed people in that state to transact their business for them and causing damage to people that were actually licensed to do it. And the way they did that, they were offering the unlicensed people a 4% commission for doing their unlicensed business for them. All that from that. Technology, it's a wonderful thing. Okay? Again, use movement. Here we showed they were sending flyers directly to folks in Los Angeles, advertising 4% commission if you do our allegedly unlawful work for us. And then we showed this. Hey, money falling from the sky if you do this stuff for us. And it's impactful. We wound up settling this case. And it was, it's confidential. I'll leave it at that. The seventh rule, bigger is better. It's part of the case that I was just talking to you about, and I've got some redactions here to make sure that things stay confidential and not breaching any privileges. This was a part of our mediation brief. And the partner that I was working with at the time, I created this PowerPoint presentation. He said, I want you to put all of this on the slide so we can see it. And I bit my tongue and I did it because I wanted to hang on to my job. But I thought it was terrible, and here's why. If you're looking at this and you're not staring at your computer screen, you're not that close. And even if you are, if you don't have your glasses, it's hard to make out what any of this says. If you take 10 steps back, now look at it, and now tell me what the point of this is. Well, I know what the point of it is. The point of it is, here's the reverse pyramid. Well, the total damage is $15 million. That's what we want somebody to come away with. So what do we mean by bigger is better? How would I do it today? This is how I do it today. I happen to think that's more impactful. I also happen to think bigger is always more impactful than all of the little minutiae. Again, when using technology as part of litigation, remember, your briefs are for the substance. Your oral argument before the judge, that's for the substance too. When you're using technology, when you're putting up evidence, when you're using Keynote or when you're using PowerPoint, remember, it's not about getting everything out there all at once. Bigger is better. Keep it simple. This is your main conclusion. We have suffered $15 million in damage. That's the number. It's big. Focus on it. Award it to us. Remember how I told you I'm going to use my camera and I'm going to show you how many documents we went through to get to that number? Here they come. Ooh, binder after binder after binder. Went through them all. 30 binders, 10,000 pages. It was unbelievable. Look how big those numbers are. Can you believe it? That's what the message gets across. Now, you might take a step back and think, well, I've had cases with way more than 10,000 documents. That may well be so, but when I'm selling this to somebody, a judge or a jury or anyone else for that matter, look at how big those numbers are. 30 binders, 10,000 pages. That was a lot of work. You want to talk, you think my numbers are wrong? Why don't you go through those 10,000 pages and take a look? I bet you're not going to think it's that little then. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. I guarantee you that every one of those numbers is right because I did it personally. That's what big does. One of the other things we had to do, I-352 forms are some forms that are filled out for in this immigration bond case. And they had specific information on there that was important to our case. And we wanted to show where the judge could find it, where the mediator could find it, without necessarily getting into the little tiny details. So how did we use bigger is better? We took something that is smaller, as you can see, and we highlighted. And we made it bigger on the left. Now we're also using movement, we're using color, a lot of these same concepts that I've talked about today. Again, you can't do this without technology. Sure, you could hand a piece of paper to someone and say, take a look, I've circled this in green, I've circled this in red. Or you can watch the stuff fly in. You can say, hey, 7 key things that I want you to focus on, and here they are. And this is far more impactful through the use of technology and effective than the alternative. Rule number 8, we're coming to the end of our presentation today, is use your stats. There's a quote that I like to pull out here that I just love. I've stuck with me since high school. There are lies, there are dirty lies, and then there are statistics. Anyone know who said that? If you do, I would be shocked because that meant you went to my high school, because as far as I could tell, that was Mrs. Gallagher, my 9th grade history teacher. But she was right. Statistics, it's amazing how you can use technology and take anything that has to do with numbers. And if you can, quote unquote, work those numbers, and I'm not suggesting that you lie. I'm not suggesting that you be immoral or unethical in any way, shape, or form. What I am saying is that the combination of technology and statistics, when you have, in any case that has damages, this will work. You can graphically represent numbers and statistics in a way that are more impactful than even the facts will get you. Before I get there, however, I have to give out that code. If you are a New York attorney and you are attending for CLE credit, your verbal confirmation code is Keynote 17. Keynote 17, that is KEYNOTE 17. So, getting back to the presentation, what do I mean by this? Well, first, again, taking from the same case, we were trying to establish tort and Cartwright Act damage to our client. And rule of threes, here we go again. Loss of reasonably anticipated sales and profits, past and future lost profits, treble damages, 10% prejudgment interest. Those were our three elements. Now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of what we were showing. How did we present these numbers graphically? Well, first thing we did was we said, okay, 2002 is when our defendants came into the marketplace and what we alleged they did was unlawful at that time. So we said, okay, let's start at 1999, take a look at how our business did from 1999 to 2002, and what we discovered was, if you look at that point in time, 1999 and 2002, an average 15% increase from one year to the next. I think that's the number. I'd have to go back and look at my actual notes. So obviously we're on the upswing. Now, what we're not saying in these statistics is that if you look at it, it went up here, it went down here, it was all over the place. We took two key moments in time and drew a straight line. There's nothing that we've said that is untrue. We're not misrepresenting anything. We are showing growth over time. And then after they showed up, same concept. One more point, 2006, we lost 7%. So what's the obvious conclusion? Well, if you took that away, you assume they weren't there, we would have kept going up, and as a result, we would have gotten up to $10 million in business. That's a $5 million difference, and that's part of our lost profits. Okay? But green, red, and that's another one. Green, good, red, bad. It sounds silly, but if you're using color as part of your presentations in anything you do, and you remember, show the green stuff, or show the good stuff as being in the color green, showing the bad stuff as being in the color red, it gets through. People remember. Remember how people learn. Don't forget, some people will respond to color, and there's been studies on that too. I've seen studies that show that when salespeople go in with a red tie, they have more success than when they go in with a blue tie. There's some kind of human-based response for that. So even something as simple as when you're developing these presentations, you're using technology at trial, maybe you're highlighting something in court as part of evidence. Use a green highlighter if you're showing something good. Use a red highlighter if you're showing something bad. Anytime you use those colors from that point forward, once your audience starts getting the hint, they'll remember it, and now you're communicating with them on a whole different level. Getting back to using technology to help you present statistics, we took the same exact numbers now and we showed it a different way. This is measured in the change in total liability from the prior year. So if we had $2 million in business and the next year we went up $4 million, it would show a 100% increase for the given year. And we took all those points in time, and this graph struck us because, and you'll see, here's another thing we can do. We can highlight certain points with our technology. Well, from 2001 to 2002, this is right when they got involved, we doubled our business. But then the year after that they came into our marketplace and started unlawfully competing, we lost a quarter of that. Is there any further proof that you need, judge, or you need, arbitrator, that they harmed our business when they got involved by the fact that we doubled our business before they came in and we lost business after?